While Vice President Kamala Harris campaigns claiming she was actually tough on border security, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals handed the Biden administration a border defeat this week by reversing a preliminary injunction from a lower court and saying that the state of Texas can maintain a floating river barrier to stem migration on the Mexico border. Now, what does this court victory mean for the state of Texas, and what does this mean to the Biden administration and their lack of enforcement? Joining me now to discuss this, Texas State Representative David Spiller. He represents the 68th District of the state of Texas. Representative Spiller, welcome to Washington Watch. Good to have you back.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate you having me.
So this has been a legal back and forth. What does this court victory mean for the state of Texas?
Well, it's just one more toolbox, and this has been something that Governor Abbott has worked very hard at as far as this buoy measure is part of Operation Lone Star. So we appreciate the job that he's done, and I certainly appreciate the job that the Attorney General's office has done in defending this, the claims against it. It's a great win for Texas, and a great win for Texas also means it's a great win for the United States, because we're fighting a good fight down here and trying to secure the border when the Biden administration and our borders Kamala Harris has failed and refused to do so.
Now, when an appellate court steps in like this and says that there's a stay, that they will not force the state of Texas to remove these buoys, these barriers on the water, that suggests that the state of Texas has a good chance of winning this case, does it not?
Well, I think so. It's certainly to overturn or to have an injunction, and the district court issued an injunction. We weren't surprised by that. But to do so, they have to meet several requirements. And when you read the opinion, it's a 105-page opinion, which is a lot for it's a lot, period, but it's a lot for a temporary injunction hearing. There are several things for a temporary injunction that have to be met under federal law and under state law. And one of those is the idea that there should be a reasonable outcome that you're going to prevail at trial. And number two is that the enforcement of this action will cause irreparable harm. Well, certainly just the opposite is true. Certainly we feel good about where we'd be as far as the ultimate end of the case, but certainly there's no harm to be inflicted. As a matter of fact, the harm is the other way if we don't do something to help secure our border. So I felt very good about that. And also feel very good about the other case that's pending is the one that was my bill, was SB 4. We had a hearing on April the 3rd in the Fifth Circuit. I was there for that, and I felt very good about that. They haven't ruled on that yet, but I've said all along, I think that they were waiting to rule en banc, which means all of the justices, on the buoy case before they take up and make the ruling on the SB 4 case.
Just for the benefit of our viewers and listeners, explain again that that law that you had championed through the legislature.
Right, and that's the bill that prohibits illegal entry, illegal reentry, and violation of a order to return. So that's the landmark bill that the state legislature passed, and Governor Abbott signed into law, that says that we're not going to let you come in at a lawful port of entry. So this bill was going into effect. It's been to the Fifth Circuit, the Supreme Court, back down to the Fifth Circuit, but we anticipate a ruling on that very quickly, very soon. And I anticipate that we'll get the result that we need that says that Texas can go ahead and begin temporary enforcement of that. Again, we're still waiting on a full trial on the merits, but I feel very good about that.
So, Representative Spiller, give us the latest on what's happening on the border. There's been so much other news that's occupied the headlines. I think this we're still talking about the border, but in terms of the volume of people coming across, the humanitarian crisis, that's kind of slipped out of the headlines.
It's a little bit less, partly, I believe, in fact, because of the efforts that Texas has made and our legislature's made and our governor's made to push back. And so it has been a deterrent. What we're doing is working. It's kind of like the weakest link. They're going to go to California. They're going to go to some other places. So it doesn't alleviate the problem for the country. It helps a little bit for the state, but just because it's not in national headlines as much as it was before doesn't mean that we don't feel it here in Texas. We do see it. We feel it. We feel the financial burden because of it. We feel the burden on our hospitals, our schools, our law enforcement, our jails, all those things, because we're not getting the money that we need to address those issues, among many other problems.
Well, I certainly think that the state of Texas has brought this to the forefront of the debate over the last few years by its efforts, not only in passing the laws, protecting the border, as we're talking about here, but also helping some of these migrants find other states to dwell in. I think that's helped bring the appropriate amount of attention. State Representative Spiller, I want to thank you for joining us. Always great to see you. I appreciate your work there in Texas.
Thank you, Tony. It's always a pleasure. Appreciate you.